All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and great glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and salutations to the elect pushing this truth to the four corners of the earth in truth and in sincerity. All right, in this particular video, I want to touch on this video that you see on your screen right here. As you can see, it's breaking news. All right, Iran attacks. U.S. strikes down brand new targets. U.S. president issues final warning. Now, what's happening over there is, you know, that they were supposedly signing some type of agreement to stop the bombings between Iran and Israel, and Iran hitting U.S. sites, and also the bombing in Lebanon. All right, so they signed the MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. Basically, just a piece of paper saying that we're going to have future negotiations about ABC. But in order to have these future negotiations, you know, you had to come out of pocket. United States said, okay. All right. Now, they were supposed to go and negotiate more about, nuclear dust and so forth and so on. Now, Iran already says that they're not giving up their nuclear program, and they're not giving that up, or their missile ballistic program, and they're not telling their proxies to lay down their arm and cut ties with them. They're not doing that. All right, but these are the things that the United States wants. So when they went over there to Switzerland, Donald Trump ends up telling the negotiators that they won't make it back to their plane. They won't make it back to Iran. So what Iran do? Close the Strait of Hormuz again. Now comes to find out that the United States was trying to sneak over 200 million barrels of oil over here to the United States, because Trump already admitted 2 weeks ago there's only 4 weeks of oil left. So he and that bitch like, hey, bro, we need some oil bad. Iran struck that shit. All right. So United States struck back. Boom. Hit like critical shit over there. Iran struck 2 U.S. bases, yes, last night in retaliation. U.S. struck right back. Yo, they locking ass. Hey, and then you got still people still out there talking about, is the ceasefire over? Like, nigga, they fighting again, of course. All right? And the streets of Hormuz are still closed. All right? They said that the United States will hit tank bottoms and strategic oil reserves around July 4th. I don't know if you've been checking the date lately, but it's moving. It's getting closer to that. Now we're starting to see certain gas stations say that they don't have any oil. They don't have any gas, man. That's diesel too. So it's going to affect everything from food, you commuting to get to your job. All right, you just wanting to go to the store and get you a swig or whatever. I went and tried to get me a beer a day ago. That joint was $2.50 for one can. I said, oh, hell no. But what is that showing you? It's showing you that hyperinflation, and people hasn't seen anything yet. It's about to get way worse than that. All right, but anyway, we have the scripture says in Jeremiah 50 and 45 that the least of the flock shall draw them out. We've been telling you this for years through the power and spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. We've been telling you that's exactly what's going to happen. When World War III we enter in World War III is when the least of the flock, which is Amalek. Who is Amalek? Amalek is the false Jews over there in the land right now. Them so-called white people in the land over there with the tiny tots with the pancake on their head. Yeah, that's Amalek. All right, shall draw them out. Who's the them? That's America. Out to what? World War. So the least of the flock shall draw them out. So Israel was going to draw America in or out to World War III. All right. And right after we was like, hey, America's officially been dragged into the war, Benjamin Netanyahu comes out and says, no, we didn't drag America into the war. We have those out there saying that we drug America into the war. No, we didn't. That America's our ally and they coming to help us. No. Don't try to speak against prophecy. We know what's going on, and you know what's going on. All right? You're just a devil. You know? But, hey, we're letting you know what's going to happen. It's going to be a ground invasion next. All right? And when they go over there and ground invade, they're going to get their ass tore out the frame. And then pursuing 2nd Ezra 16:32 to 33, it's going to be a draft. All right? Excuse me. It's going to be a draft, man. All right? That's how bad it's going to be. In the midst of that war, that draft, they said that their husband's not just going to die in the wars, but also in the famine. So the Lord is actually giving you a sneak peek at the cheat sheet real quick. Like, hey, around these wars, when World War III pop off and a draft hit, it's going to be a famine too. So that's letting you know something. So I'm looking at the Straits of Hormuz ordeal like, hey, I believe this is the thing that's going to bring the famine in. If I was a bet man, this is me talking as a man. I'm like, yo, this right here going to bring that shit. All right. So what we seeing right now, we're seeing things take shape. Now we can listen to this heathen talk. You know, he actually has some good videos, but he's going to get into it. What the United States said, what Iran did, and what these new warnings are that Donald Trump is issuing. All right, let's get into it.
Good morning, everyone. I've got some breaking news here for you because we have to talk about what just happened in the Middle East. It has the potential to change the direction of this entire war and the region in just a matter of hours. Now, for the past couple of days, there's been a lot of optimism, and rightfully so, that the tensions around the Strait of Hormuz were maybe finally beginning to cool off. That maybe this wasn't a zealous regime, and that the ceasefire framework was at least creating enough stability for commercial shipping to start moving again. Maybe we would even get a cheaper gallon of gas here soon. But that was before Iran screwed up and they shot at cargo ships. From that second...
Did Iran screw up? They said they shut down the Straits of Hormuz. You tried to sink 200 million barrels. They struck it. That shit wasn't carrying wallets. All right, wasn't no cat food in that cargo ship. Come on now, they know what they was doing, but you see, you can't put no blame on Esau. You feel me? He go over there bombing motherfucking schools. All right, he's bombing schools. Now I don't care about them heathens either, but that right there, come on now, that's some cold-blooded murderer. Little boys and little girls and pregnant women and men that don't want a war. Hey, y'all all go to that hospital over there. All go to that school. Because it's a war crime to bomb those things, right? And they drop straight bombs on them. So, when mugs be talking about, we thought they wasn't savages. Basically a overzealous regime. Like, motherfuckers that just, they buck wild and they will kill you over their religion and shit like that. No, that's y'all. But anyway.
Forward. Everything changed. A Singapore-flagged cargo ship was seen on satellite as well as maritime tracking imagery as it traveled through a southern route along the Omani coast. This is the exact same corridor that has become the preferred route, protected and coordinated by the United States of America and American allied partners. This was purposeful, and it was supposed to represent the safest way out of the entire Gulf region, yet according to the reports that are coming in, that did not matter to the country of Iran. They sent off multiple one-way attack drones locating the vessel anyway. Some were shot down and another one struck the ship, immediately putting one of the most important waterways on our entire planet right back into the reticle of destruction.
The Canada-Russia final showcasing the two most talked about prospects in the world.
Destruction. Now, the response from the U.S. side was almost immediate. CENTCOM did release a couple of images that showed the F-16 fighter jets already in the region, on operation, carrying laser-guided rockets. These are weapons that are specifically suited to engage these types of targets like drones, but that isn't all we saw. Hanging underneath the aircraft was the military's precision-guided bomb, the GBU-54. And when we saw that, I knew that from that moment forward, the American military has been preparing for something larger. That tells us that the aircraft is not limited to shooting drones out of the sky. And what it does is it also has the capability to strike the locations directing those drones, Iranian targets, when that decision is made by CENTCOM. And within minutes, this wasn't just about defending a ship. It became a question about whether command and control facilities on the Iranian side themselves were now part of the target equation. And then we had the U.S. President Donald Trump. He added another layer by announcing that American forces had won by intercepting 3 additional Iranian drones after one had already struck the cargo ship. Now, according to Donald Trump's statement, 4 different attack drones had been launched by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps toward commercial shipping vessels. 1 successfully hit the vessel itself, and the other 3 were destroyed by the U.S. military. But it looks like there could have been more attacks with this. I want you to listen right here as we have the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. They're warning all of these ships inside of the region that the entire Strait of Hormuz is closed.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Persian Gulf and Oman Sea. This is Stefan Navy warning. Transiting in the Strait of Hormuz is only possible with SEPA Navy permission and on designated routes. If any vessel attempts to transit in the Strait without our permission or AIS off or outside of the designated route, it's responsible for any consequences of any danger. This is SEPA Navy out.
So that's the Iranian Navy saying that the Strait of Hormuz is all but closed except for the allowed route that is being presented to the entire world, not just to the region, but the entire world by the country of Iran. Now, the U.S. president described this attack as a violation of the ceasefire agreement, and the Vice President J.D. Vance, he also made that declaration.
See, now when they signed the MOU electronically, Israel still bombed Lebanon. That was breaking of the ceasefire right there. Come on.
And from that moment forward, the focus shifted away from whether this incident.
See, Esau, man, he tried to get caught up, how you get caught up in a rigmarole, bro. But if you just simply think about it, let's say you and another cat decided not to beef anymore or to stop fighting with each other. All right. As soon as y'all start fighting again, and there's no, what y'all just talked about means nothing anymore. That's out the window. All right. There is no more piecing it up or anything. Y'all are actually engaged in combat again. So what are you hitting this the news and talking about something? Hey, this could potentially break the ceasefire. Like, what are you talking about? That shit's done. Been done. All right. Especially the beginning of the 100-day war. It's 100 days plus already. But the beginnings of World War III, what we're saying right now, World War III, started because of they couldn't agree. You see, if they would have agreed on these negotiation points, they would have never started bombing each other. When you know what each side wants, you understand that that's why they started bombing each other. America wants Iran to tell their proxies to lay down their arms and stop fighting, and wants them to cut ties with them, wants them to cut their nuclear program, wants them to stop enriching uranium, part of their nuclear program, wants them to get uranium from somebody else, a third party, wants them to cut their missile ballistic program, want them to open up the Straits of Hormuz. Basically, they want them to not be military, not have a strong military, man, and no connections. All right, and Iran like, yo, you can kick rocks. So that's why they started bombing each other 100+ days ago. And what do you think is going to change right now? They both have the same points and talking points. All right. And plus, we know prophecy. We know that it can have some ceasefire talks and all that other shit, but we know World War III is going to happen. So,
was happening and directly toward what will happen next. Now, this very well could be the beginning of something much larger that plays out in the Middle East. And we have seen that the country of Iran has been insisting that commercial vessels inside of the region coordinate and get the allowance of its naval authorities to use the routes close to the Iranian coastline instead of the southern passage near Oman. They're doing this because Iran's fleet of small, fast attack craft are much more likely to operate effectively close to the Iranian shore. And the further away that commercial ships move away from the coast of Iran and in toward the coast, the easier they become to monitor, harass, or potentially militarily intercept. The southern corridor changes that effectiveness because it places those ships.
All right, I'm going to wrap this up and see if he shows any articles on Trump's final, his threats and stuff. I want to see.
Vessels farther away, Iran starts to.
First day at school, had my hand snapped. The 2,000 people there cheered for it.
Time is that this one ceasefire break carries consequences with it that are far beyond the damage to just that one cargo ship. Almost immediately, we witnessed maritime insurance companies reassessing the risk, and that insurance is one of the reasons that the multi-billion-dollar lane was shut down to begin with, was to technically remain. You don't have to sink a dozen ships or 10 ships or 15 ships themselves with the military posture in the region is changing. The USA is actively and militarily preparing to re-engage with land level weaponry. We're seeing a failed attempt of diplomacy, and that the USA is actively and militarily preparing to re-engage with land leveling weaponry.
Hey, land leveling weaponry. Dropping big bombs and shit on them. But don't forget, Iran just hit they jet with a secret weapon. So they got some shit too. See, Iran is not Venezuela, and they're not like Afghanistan or whatever. They got hypersonic missiles. They got special forces. As you see, they talked about their Navy, talked about their fast attack ships that's working close to the shore. Hey, man, they actually got power. This is why they can tell the United States and Israel and them allies, everybody for real, that we shutting down all this shit. All right? And then shut down the waterway so they can only use the ones really close to you, your shore. So you can, man, they got that shit on lock, man. Now, I believe what he's talking about with the U.S. president issues final warning. They said if they do not get this shit together and sign a deal, they will no longer exist. Your country will no longer exist. All right. Now, we've been hearing Trump say shit like that all the time, but hey, they bombing each other like ASAP, like right now. All right. They're assessing things and people are dying. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up. It's got a few obligations. And with that, I hope this was edifying and I hope you could take something from this. Shalom.